Hello, my name is Chuck Nickles, Chief Designer with Wessex Tubas. Today we're going to be looking at the Wessex Z valve, how to take it apart, how to maintain it, and everything you're going to need to know to work your valve. So to look at the valve, on the outside this may look like a normal rotary valve, but our Z valve actually comes apart in multiple parts. You will see this casing here that is actually soldered to the instrument, while the actual bearing surface and the valve itself is completely removable. This is great for not only servicing the instrument, but if the instrument is ever damaged in a way that a traditional valve wouldn't be able to easily be repaired, this unit can be taken out and a new unit can be dropped in its place, getting you back into your concert in only a few minutes. So to remove the valve is the same method as any other rotary valve. Once you've removed the stop arm and the back bearing plate, you just hammer out the valve like you normally would. Your rotary valve comes out and the back bearing plate also comes out with it. To reinstall the valve, it's just like any other rotary valve. Put the rotary valve back in its casing. At this point you will want to oil your valve. And then put your bearing plate back in. You will find a little mark on the side here. There's also a corresponding mark on the casing. You will line up these two marks. You will hammer the back bearing plate in. Make sure that the back bearing plate is level. And your valve should spin easily. If it does not, that probably tells you you've hammered the back bearing plate in too far. So just go on the other side, give it some light taps until it starts spinning with ease. To reinstall the casing, I find it easiest to do it with the valve out of the inner casing. Put those to the side. To make sure that your casing can come out of your horn easily in the future, I like to take some main tuning slide grease or whatever slide grease that you like to use and grease the outside of the body, and I tend to put a little grease on the threads as well. Any mechanical part that rubs against each other needs to be lubricated in some way or another. Because this is going to stay in there for a long time, a grease would work better. When you go to reinstall this casing, you will find on here there's a small valve guide. There will be a corresponding slot inside here as well. These must line up for the valve to go in. If you have a first generation Z valve, this will be a small dimple here instead, and on the valve itself you will actually find a set screw. Loosen that set screw, put this into the body, line up the dimple with the set screw hole, and tighten the set screw. With this newer generation, once you've greased it, you will put it into the horn, get it mainly lined up, and then with a hammer, rawhide hammer or a canvas hammer like this, I prefer to use the Furries tool hammer as it's a very nice hammer to use with instruments. Drive the inner casing back into the outer casing. You will know when you've gone all the way in because there will be no gap here at the side of the valve. You see with these, there's no gap there. It should look like a traditional rotary valve once you've installed it in all the way. If you can see a gap, continue to drive it in. Once you've done this, you can reinstall your rotary valve in a traditional manner with any rotary valve. When you hammer the back bearing plate back into this, you may lift this up a little bit. That's okay. Just go ahead and hammer here on the side. Once it's in all the way, you're not going to have to worry about it going off center when you hammer it back in. Just use the side part there to get it back in. Now to remove this entire assembly from the instrument, first you'll take off the stop arm from the front and you will take off the back rotor cap. It will not come off unless you take this off. At this point, you're just going to hammer the entire assembly out. It'll take a little bit, it's a very tight fit, but you're just going to hammer it out like you were putting the bearing plate in. Don't feel bad if it takes more than a couple hits. This is not going to pop out very quickly and easily. It's designed to be a very tight fit to make sure it does not leak. At a certain point, you'll be able to push it a good bit of the way out. At this point, Most of you will have some kind of tool that you would use to put the bearing plate back in. This that I use is just a piece of brass with a hole drilled into the middle, and the inside here has a small radius just to make sure there's no sharp edges. Once this gets into the horn, I have to put this in here so I can continue to hammer it out. And that's how you remove the assembly. Now, if you don't want to remove this, you do not have to remove the entire assembly to work on the valve itself. You can just remove this just like a traditional valve and leave this casing inside the instrument. However, for a lot of maintenance, this is a lot easier to work with. Instead of relying on back bearing plate marks for alignment, you can visually look at the alignment of the valve here. If you need to lap the valve or clean the valve, you could put this in your tank or in your sink and clean it here instead of putting the entire tuba in your bathtub. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any other questions about how this valve works, or maybe getting replacement parts for this horn or for this valve, please contact Wessex Tuba on the email on our website.